Listen to me carefully, my child. I have watched you for many years now. I have seen the long road you have walked, the responsibilities you carried, the sacrifices you made quietly without applause. I have seen you endure loss, disappointment, betrayal, and moments where life did not turn out the way you hoped it would. And through it all, there is one weight you picked up without realizing it, a burden that slowly bent your shoulders and tired your soul. It is the burden of justice. It is the weight of believing that you must make things right on your own. I never asked you to carry that. Not when you were young and strong. Not when you were in the busiest seasons of your life. And not now, in this season where your heart longs for rest. Yet somewhere along the way, you began to believe that if you did not hold on to the wrongs done to you, they would never matter. You feared that if you let go, the truth would disappear. So you carried it. Year after year, memory after memory. You carried names, faces, conversations, moments that still sting when you think about them. I see how heavy it became. I see how it followed you into quiet evenings and long nights. I see how it resurfaced during moments that should have been peaceful. You told yourself you were just remembering, just being cautious, just staying aware. But deep inside, you were standing guard over justice, watching, waiting, measuring, hoping that one day the scales would finally tip. That role was never yours. It drained you because it was never meant for you. When you try to act as judge, you live in a constant state of tension. Your mind never rests. Your heart stays alert, braced for reminders of old pain. Even in seasons of blessing, you cannot fully relax because part of you is still scanning the past, checking whether fairness has finally arrived. I see how exhausting that has been for you. I see how it stole your energy slowly, quietly, without you noticing until your spirit felt tired even when your days were calm. I want you to understand something deeply and without doubt. Justice is not your responsibility. It never was. When you carry it, you are not being strong. You are being overburdened. You are stepping into a role that belongs to me alone. And when you do that, you limit your own ability to live freely in the present. You anchor yourself to moments that have already passed, moments I have long seen, recorded, and addressed in ways you cannot perceive. You thought holding onto the burden kept you safe. You believed that vigilance would protect you from being hurt again. But instead, it kept you tethered to pain. It kept your heart partially closed, cautious even when love and joy were offered to you. It whispered that peace was only possible once everything was settled. But peace does not come from seeing others receive consequences. Peace comes from trusting me enough to put the burden down. I know you may say, but if I let go, who will remember what happened? Hear me now. I remember. I have always remembered. Nothing done to you was unseen. Nothing spoken against you was unheard. Nothing taken from you was forgotten. You do not need to keep record because I already hold it. Perfectly, completely, without distortion or bitterness. I do not forget and I do not miss details. You can release what you have been guarding. Carrying this burden has cost you more than you realize. It has cost you moments of laughter that could have been fuller. It has cost you rest that could have been deeper. It has cost you presence in the lives of people who love you now. You survived so much, and yet part of you is still surviving instead of living. I am calling you out of survival mode. I am inviting you into a lighter way of being. You are not responsible for balancing the scales of the past. You are responsible for living the life I still have in front of you. There are still moments of peace waiting for you. There is still joy meant to be received, not earned, not delayed, not postponed, until justice feels complete. Your life is not a waiting room. It is a gift meant to be opened now. I am not asking you to pretend nothing happened. I am not asking you to deny your pain or rewrite your history. I am asking you to trust me with what you cannot fix and to stop carrying what was never assigned to you. When you lay this burden down, you are not losing control. You are gaining freedom. You are allowing your heart to finally rest in my care instead of standing watch over wounds. You have carried enough. You have done enough. You have endured enough. This chapter of your life is not meant to be spent guarding old battles. It is meant to be lived in peace, with steadier breath and lighter steps. Listen to my voice now. Release the burden. Place it into my hands. Let me do what only I can do, and allow yourself at last to be free. Listen to me, my beloved child. I know how long you have been watching. I know how quietly you have waited. I have seen you look over the fence of your own life to see how the story of someone else turned out. I have seen you measure their steps, their successes, their failures, not because you wished them well, but because a part of you was still asking, when will it be fair? You did not set out to live this way. It happened slowly, almost unnoticed, like a habit formed over years of hurt. You told yourself it was harmless, just a thought now and then, just curiosity, just wanting closure. But every time your attention drifted back to them, it drifted away from your own life. Every time you checked whether they had fallen or prospered, something inside you tightened. You were not resting, you were waiting, and waiting kept you suspended, unable to fully step into the peace I was offering you. I want you to understand the cost of this watching. It costs you presence. When your mind is focused on another person's outcome, you are not fully here. You miss small joys. You miss gentle moments. You miss blessings that arrive quietly and leave unnoticed because your heart is elsewhere. I have placed goodness in your path many times, but you were looking backward, measuring fairness instead of receiving grace. You have spent precious years standing at the window of justice, hoping to witness the moment when everything finally balances out. But while you stood there, life kept moving. Seasons changed. Opportunities came and went, relationships deepened or drifted, and you were there, still holding your breath, still waiting for something that was never meant to be your focus. Waiting like this does something subtle to the soul. It hardens it just enough to stay alert. It keeps the heart guarded. It whispers that rest is unsafe until everything is resolved. But resolution does not come from observation. It comes from release. And release cannot happen while you are still watching the scoreboard of someone else's life. I see how this watching has affected your peace. Even in calm moments, there is a quiet unease. Even in joy, there is a hesitation. You have learned to brace yourself, to expect disappointment, to assume that good things are temporary. That is not the life I intended for you. I did not create you to live in a constant state of anticipation for correction. I created you to live, to breathe deeply, to enjoy the days I give you without scanning the horizon for justice. You thought that waiting would eventually bring relief. You believed that once you saw consequences, your heart would finally rest. But relief built on someone else's downfall is fragile. It never lasts. It demands more proof, more confirmation, more watching. And so the cycle continues, draining you quietly while promising satisfaction that never fully comes. I am asking you now to see what this has cost you. It has cost you laughter that could have come more easily. It has cost you trust in the present moment. It has cost you the ability to fully enjoy what is good without suspicion. And most of all, it has cost you intimacy with me, because while you were watching them, you were not always listening to me. I have been speaking to you gently, calling you back into your own life. I have been reminding you that your story did not end with what they did. I have been inviting you to turn your gaze away from them and back toward me. But old habits are hard to break, especially when they are built on pain. Still, I am patient with you. I am not condemning you. I am guiding you. Hear me clearly now. You are not meant to live as a spectator of someone else's reckoning. You are meant to live as a participant in your own healing. You do not need to witness justice to experience peace. You need trust. Trust that I am working even when you cannot see it. Trust that I am fair even when outcomes confuse you. Trust that your life is not on hold until someone else's story reaches a certain chapter. There is still so much life ahead of you, even now. Even in this season, your days still matter. Your joy still matters. Your peace still matters. Do not spend what remains of your strength watching what no longer belongs to you. Turn your eyes back to me. Turn your heart back to the present. Let today be today, not a waiting room for yesterday's wounds. Stop watching. Stop waiting. Come back to your own life. Come back to the blessings already around you. Come back to me, where rest does not depend on outcomes and peace does not require proof. Listen to me now with a quiet heart. I know how certain you have been about what you saw, what you heard, and what you experienced. I know how clear the memory feels, how sharp the details remain even after many years. You believe you understand what happened, and in many ways, you do. But there is much you do not see. There is much you could never know. And carrying certainty where only partial understanding exists has weighed heavily on you. You have judged actions based on what touched your life, based on how deeply you were wounded. That is natural, that is human, but it is not complete. You see one chapter, I see the entire story. You see one moment of harm, I see generations of pain, patterns learned in silence, wounds passed down and never healed. This does not excuse what was done to you, but it explains why judgment cannot rest safely in human hands. There are things about the person who hurt you that were never visible to you. There were fears they never spoke aloud. There were scars you never saw. There were moments long before they met you that shaped how they learned to survive. You encountered them at one point in their journey, not knowing what came before or what followed, and yet you have carried the full weight of deciding who they are based on how they touched your life. I am asking you to release the illusion that you know the whole truth. Even with all your wisdom, even with all your years, you still see through a narrow window. That is not a failure. It is simply the limit of being human. When you insist on certainty, you harden your heart around a story that is unfinished, incomplete, and still unfolding in ways you cannot witness. You do not see the consequences they already face. You do not see the inner turmoil, the regret, the loneliness, the unrest that follows people who wound others. You do not see the sleepless nights, the relationships that fail, the quiet emptiness that punishment does not always make public. You measure justice by visible outcomes, but I work in places far deeper than public results. You also do not see what I am doing in their heart. You do not see the moments when truth confronts them in silence. You do not see the slow dismantling of pride, the uncomfortable awareness, the reckoning that comes when excuses fall away. Change rarely looks dramatic from the outside. Often it is slow, painful, and deeply personal. And sometimes it does not happen in the ways you expect or within the timeline you would choose. Your need to understand everything has kept you tied to questions that have no answers available to you. Why did they do it? Why didn't they care? Why did no one stop them? These questions echo because you keep asking them of yourself instead of releasing them to me. There are answers you will never receive in this lifetime, and that is not cruelty, it is mercy. Because some knowledge would not heal you, it would only deepen the wound. I do not ask you to excuse harm. I ask you to surrender the need to fully explain it. There is a difference. You can honor your pain without pretending to understand every motive. You can acknowledge wrongdoing without appointing yourself as the final authority on someone's soul. When you let go of certainty, you make room for peace. You have carried the burden of analysis for too long, turning events over and over, trying to reach a conclusion that will finally settle your heart. But your heart does not need more information. It needs trust. Trust that I see more than you ever could. Trust that I hold every detail, every intention, every consequence. Trust that nothing is unresolved in my hands, even when it feels unresolved in yours. You are not responsible for knowing the full story. You are responsible for caring for your own heart now, for tending to your own healing, for choosing peace over explanation. The desire to know everything has kept you attached to pain. The willingness to accept what you cannot know will set you free. I am asking you to step back from the role of interpreter and step into the role of receiver. Receive my peace, receive my assurance, receive the truth that you do not need all the answers to move forward. Some things are meant to be placed in my care permanently, not revisited, not re-examined, not reopened. Let me carry what you cannot see. Let me handle what you cannot understand. Let me work where you cannot go. You were never meant to hold omniscience. You were meant to hold trust. Release the need to know. Release the demand for clarity. Release the belief that understanding everything is the key to healing. Healing comes from surrender, not certainty. And I am here, waiting for you to place these unanswered questions into my hands. Come closer now and listen without resistance. You have walked a long road, and you have carried much more than you were ever asked to bear. This is the moment where I speak to you plainly, not to correct you harshly, but to call you into rest. You have tried to manage what only I can govern. You have tried to oversee justice, outcomes, and fairness as if your vigilance could somehow secure peace. But peace does not come from control. It comes from surrender. And now I am asking you to let me be God. Letting me be God means releasing the need to oversee what happens to others. It means trusting that I am not passive, not forgetful, and not indifferent. I do not overlook wrongdoing, and I do not rush judgment. I act with perfect timing and complete understanding. When you step back and allow me to take my place, you are not abandoning truth. You are aligning with it. You have lived many years responding to life by bracing yourself. You learned to be strong because you had to be. You learned to endure because there was no other choice. But strength was never meant to become your permanent posture. There is a season for endurance and there is a season for release. You are in a season where I am inviting you to loosen your grip and reclaim the parts of your life that were overshadowed by vigilance. Reclaiming your life begins with obedience. Obedience does not always look like action. Sometimes it looks like stopping the replaying of old scenes, stopping the mental rehearsals, stopping the habit of checking how others are doing in comparison to you. Obedience now is trusting me enough to turn your attention fully toward the life still unfolding in front of you. I know you fear that if you stop watching, something will go wrong, that justice will be forgotten, that truth will be lost. Hear me clearly. Nothing escapes me. Not a word, not a motive, not a tear. I am not overwhelmed by complexity, and I am not constrained by time. I work in ways that are thorough and complete, even when they are invisible to you. When you let me be God, you free your heart to breathe again. You begin to notice the quiet gifts I have placed in your days, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the sound of laughter, even if it comes softly now, the peace of a moment without tension. These are not small things. They are evidence that life is still meant to be lived, not merely survived. You are not too old to begin again. You are not too late to experience joy without reservation. You are not disqualified from peace because of what you endured. I am not finished with you. There is still purpose in your days, still meaning in your presence, still love to give and receive. But you cannot access these fully while you are holding on to what I have asked you to release. Letting me be God also means accepting that my ways will not always match your expectations. Justice may not look like you imagined. Change may come quietly. Accountability may happen privately. And sometimes consequences unfold in the heart long before they appear in life circumstances. Trusting me means accepting that my work does not need your supervision. I am calling you to a simpler way of living. Not easier, but lighter. A way where your energy is no longer divided between past wounds and present moments. A way where your thoughts are not constantly pulled backward. A way where you wake up without the weight of unfinished business pressing on your chest. This is not denial. This is obedience. This is faith lived out in daily surrender. You have given enough of your life to pain. Now give the rest to peace. You have given enough attention to what was taken from you. Now give your attention to what remains and what is being restored. You are allowed to enjoy what I give you without guilt. You are allowed to rest without earning it. You are allowed to trust me without fully understanding me. I am asking you now, as gently and firmly as I can, to step aside and let me do my work. Place the past in my hands and leave it there. Do not return to it for reassurance. Do not check on it for updates. Do not reopen it when life grows quiet. Trust me enough to move forward without looking back.